Great to have you here, and a couple of comments I had to ask Jerry. This is the first time I've got to visit with you guys since the day in Dallas. And I just want to go back to, you know, everybody gets recruiting and great things going on, and I'm always going to, I think I'm going to, for the rest of my career, always talk about our student athletes, because I just, first of all, they're our best recruiters. We just put together a great class, and Ezekiel Elliott, I found out, is probably our best recruiter, and Michael Thomas might be number 2. And that makes you feel good as a coach. And our players started work in August. They had no day off for Thanksgiving because we play our rival, and that's a pretty important game around here. And then you go to Christmas, and your mind's really on playing Alabama, but we gave them a few days off. And then every other student athlete other than 2 teams gets that week or 10-day hiatus where you get your bodies right, get your minds right, and they go. And our kids actually had 2 days of missed classes. So I'm trying to visualize that professor actually marking down an absentee to a player, and Ohio State is 30 ACT average in that classroom. And so I just saw our players today. Here we go again, 5 o'clock in the morning, the alarm goes, and 6 a.m. the whistle blows, and we're going. And I just stare at those guys, and to think that our president of the NCAA allowed them to get financial reimbursement to go play the college football playoff, that's the right thing to do. And you're going to hear that probably 6,000 or 7,000 more times out of Ohio State, that we need to continue to do the right thing, which we have very strong opinions about that as well. But I think everybody needs to understand the workload that's put on. When you start saying let's add, and then when someone says let's add an 8th or 10th or 9th or 15th or 20-game playoff, obviously we have some strong opinions around here about that as well, because we did it and we were part of it. So don't forget this, even on signing date. I know one thing around here, we don't forget the effort that they did to make history, and you can see there's a 2014 national championship sign over there that these players did, which we're all deeply indebted to them for that. Also want to thank our recruiting staff, led by Mark Pantoni. He's an ace. He's a guy who's been with me a long time. He's a grinder. We put together a very good class, and his support staff did a fine job, and then our coaching staff did a great job keeping this thing going. You have uneventful and eventful signing dates. We've had a couple uneventfuls where kind of, hey, these guys say they're coming, and you move on. And then you have the other ones where it's normally this way, where there's 1 or 2. We had 5 at 11 o'clock last night were unsure where they were going. And that makes for a bad night for myself and a handful of our coaches that were involved with them. And I used to do it in the middle of the floor with a sleeping bag. I now moved to my daughter's room. She's no longer there. She's in college. And so I walk into her room and I plug my phone in and try to zzz, and you hear that darn thing going and going. And I looked at my clock one time, it was 12:10, and I'm still talking to Stan Drayton about Mike Weber. And we're trying to get a hold of him. And so it was a very eventful night. We didn't get everyone we wanted. We battled really hard. And but at the end of the day, the 5 jumped in the boat today, and the 5 were Isaiah Prince, KJ Hill, Mike Weber, Josh Alabay, and that lefty, yeah, Torrance Gibson. So that was a little anxiety around here during the morning, and our guys did a good job. A couple comments about the class. Did very well in the state of Ohio. Our linebackers, I'm really excited about that. I think that's Luke Fickle has really done a very, very good job in the last 3 years of building it back up to the Ohio State standards that I think was void when we first got here because of injuries and because of a variety of things. But you're looking now and you're seeing a Josh Perry, you see Raekwon McMillan, you see Dante Booker, Darren Lee, and you're starting to see these athletes coming up that are on all special teams. There was a time here a couple years ago we had linebackers weren't involved in the kicking game. And it wasn't because they're not supposed to be, it's because we just, for whatever reason, they were not. Now they're all over the place. And you look at these 3 guys that are coming in, Nick Connor, Justin Hayter, and Jerome Baker, they were the exact kind of body types, mentality, people that you want. Also, the offensive line, we don't have the tall, long guys. We're 6'6", 6'7", 6'5", 6'9", 6'5", and 6'7" are walking through the doors now. So out of those are 3 or 4 tackles that we really need. We're really short at that position, especially with Kyle Dotson not being allowed to play football anymore because of his injury. So I'll answer some questions for you. But once again, I wanted to, please don't forget about conversations about the current student athletes and the someone would, you want to do a great story? Do a story from August until January 15th and what a student athlete does, because most people don't understand that. They see a kid play against Oregon and say, wow, that's kind of cool. They don't realize we were out of scout team players. If we had to practice one more day, we had to go against each other because we were out of scout team. There's no scout team. It's over. So for all those people on all the committees making decisions, they need to hear those decisions, because you just have to do the right thing by the players. I'll answer any questions for you.
All right, here, Bo. Urban, I asked this of you, acknowledging that you're the guy that put Cam Newton and John Brantley a year behind Tim Tebow, but you get 2 big-time quarterbacks in this class. You have 4 great quarterbacks on the roster. Have you ever had a situation like this, or seen a situation like this at that position? And then if you could also just comment on Burrow and Gibson.
I love Joey Burrow. He was a guy that was kind of under the, Tom Herman, we kind of, I don't want to say rejected, because we didn't reject him. We just kind of see what we want, because he's growing up. And the unfortunate thing right now, all this early recruiting is pushing, you're letting, between your sophomore and junior year and your junior and seniors, when kids grow up, and I'm watching my son do it right now, how big he's getting and strong he's getting. So Joey Burrow is right on schedule. And Tom Herman went down there, and he wasn't, I don't know if he's highly rated or not, but I just remember he sent me, and he's screaming into his phone, I guess an iPhone, as he's watching this kid throw. And he goes, I found your next Alex Smith, and you meet the kid and his family, and it's just A1A. He's a competitor. He wins. He wins in football. He wins in basketball. And his mom and dad, he's a coach's son. So we're real impressed with him. Torrance, I didn't know very well. He came in, and the thing I asked Torrance is just, please don't penalize us because our guys play real well. I went through other rosters everybody's got 3 or 4 quarterbacks. If you don't, you're really struggling. But everybody's got 3 or 4. Our 3 or 4 happen to play really well. Don't hold that against us, because Cardell might leave after next year. He almost left this year, I guess, and Braxton's out, so you're down to 1, maybe 2. Don't hold that against us. Come and compete for the spot, because you go from Braxton to Kenny Guyton to J.T. Barrett to Cardo Jones. Don't penalize the Ohio State Buckeyes, because all 4 played really well.
And just the depth, real quick, Urban, have you ever had 6 guys of that caliber?
No. We'll discuss down the road, I guess.
Todd?
Urban, you're coming off of a national championship. If I'm Mike Weber and I'm in Michigan and I've got Michigan pulling at me to stay there, what does Urban Meyer tell me at 11 o'clock the night before signing day to get me to come here?
I got a lot of credit. He's a guy that's been here a bunch. He's been committed, and we've all been down that road. And kids leave. Ezekiel Elliott was that's his brother now. I hear him talk, and I heard the term brother. And Zeke's our best recruiter. That does not happen without Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott's mother played at Missouri. His father played at Missouri. His mother was a track star at Missouri, and he went through the same transition. And so when they weren't talking about the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry or something, they're talking about how that is, the pressure, when I know I want to do this, but what about this? And there were former players going to his house. There was NFL guys from the rival, just trying to do what they're doing. And to be able to maintain it. As of 11 o'clock last night, I wasn't sure what he was going to do. And even at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock this morning, we all weren't sure. And up until about an hour before it announced, we weren't sure. So what your question is, what do we tell them? The last 2 tailbacks are as good as anybody in America statistically. We have a fantastic offensive line, and we believe in a tailback. And it's not theory, it's real. You watch it on film.
Front row, Tim? Yeah, Urban, as you look at these offensive linemen, what do they bring to the table more than anything else? Is it, you've gotten 6 this year, 5 last year. Do you feel like the cupboard has been, restocked?
Well, we made some mistakes when we first got here. We had a couple guys not work out, and Coach Warner is a magician as far as developing the Reed Fragles and Darryl Baldwins and taking guys that really never played football and making them NFL-type players. And he's one of the best I've ever been around. I've never seen anything like that. But we were we were holding our breath this year, because we were down to the nubs as far as what was left. And we needed this kind of haul. Now in there's a couple guys more game ready than the others, just because of the amount of experience they've had and the quality of competition, those type of things. But you need, offensive linemen, that's the one position, a little bit like D-line. It takes a couple years to get going. But they're long and they're athletic and they're tackle-type bodies, 3 or 4 of those guys, which we just don't have.
Any other thing, you're up there, you're at midnight, 1 o'clock, you're talking to Stan Drayton. Is that still fun to you? How would you describe what that is like? That last
that was fun
48
when I was
hours.
27 years old.
Is what?
Yeah, it was fun when you're 27 years old and you're 50 now. It's fun when you get them and you smile and we laugh, and Drayton looks like I do today, just like someone hit him with a bat. But what's fun is when they're very good people and you can bleed with them a little bit because you know what they're going through. And they're, once again, you're talking about Mike Weber, man. He's a great kid. You can talk about Isaiah Prince. When you guys get to know him, there's not a better guy than that. And then KJ Hill, I really didn't know. That was mostly Chris Ash until the end. And you're talking about a very intelligent player that wants doing it for the right reasons, and a very good family. So when you're talking about, it's fun when you're dealing with that kind of people.
One last thing, though. Do you ever check it up, check mark? You've just beaten that new coach for a guy he really coveted, if you understand what I'm saying?
No, you don't have time to do that. I think we do keep score against the rival in everything we do. And they're great recruiters. They always have been. The previous staff was great recruiters. And I mean, that's gone on for long before us and will take place long after us. But absolutely, you keep score of that one.
Far left, Rusty.
Urban, how different would this class have been without a national championship? Did you gain people, or how much of a bounce did you get?
I think we'll find that out after we, certainly 16, you'd seen a jolt, and that's going to help us. I tell people it was like a 30-day infomercial. We didn't really turn many's. I thought maybe that might happen, but that really didn't happen. I think Isaiah Prince, KJ are two, maybe Torrance, it really helped us. But, I think Matt Burrell was still coming, and Mikey Weber, I don't think he came because we won a national championship. I think a little bit, like that ESPN Hard Knocks thing that we did a couple years ago, it just gets, the scarlet and gray in front of everybody in a positive light. Sometimes things happen and it's not in a positive light. So anytime it's positive, go pay for positive advertisement for 30 days and see what that looks like. And that's basically what it was.
And one more thing, the whole field of recruiting and particularly announcing, the first signing date and everything, I just wondered if you could look into a crystal ball, what do you think this is going to be like in 10 years? Are we still going to be under the same format where everybody...
I have mixed emotions about that. I've been on committees, and we've been asked that every year at the American Football Coach Association. We'll probably we have Big Ten meetings next week. I'm sure that will come up. I think the SEC, when I was in the SEC, had a great model, but then I start thinking, my daughters went through it, and I'm just trying to visualize, people, there's no visit policies. You can't do this, you can't do this. If someone, imagine telling your coach your daughter can't go visit the school. I look and show she can't. Sure she can. These kids they're 17, 18 years old. They're getting a plethora of offers and opportunities. It's done when the person signs that dotted line. So the more I'm thinking about it, even though we had to battle, and you said, is it fun at midnight on? No, it's not fun. But at the end of the day, that human being, that young person gets to pick whatever school they want to pick. And now they can gather as much information as they possibly can get their hands on. Because I don't think we get KJ Hill. I don't think we get Isaiah Prince. I don't think we get on an early signing period. I'm trying to think who else. Maybe not Mike. I think he was committed by then. But so I kind of like the model, and not that my voice matters too much, but I think I'd be disappointed if it changed.
Back row middle. All right. Urban, with a guy like Torrance, who was a huge part of your guys' class, it was a really long, drawn-out process with him from the beginning when he was a junior. You guys got in on him to, maybe lulls in the middle of the recruitment, then the quarterbacks do what they do. I mean, how much work does it take maybe to get one specific guy like that in comparison to some of the other guys where, they're from Ohio now? I mean, can you detail a little bit about just the journey?
Sure. That's a great question, because there are those that tear up and say, my grandfather knew Woody Hayes, and I want to play for Ohio State. Where do I sign? And there's the other ones that if you put a stopwatch on the amount of time you've spent with them, it's out of control. And be quite honest with you, it's as much as you do like the person that grew up at Buckeye and says, I'll do anything to be a Ohio State Buckeye, and then all of a sudden you go get a guy out of South Florida that, he just more is a fit that you have to really grind and work to go get. It's more, I don't say gratifying, but to be able to go get a guy. So the amount of time on Torrance was ridiculous, especially towards the end. But he seemed always to be a natural fit offensively, and he just liked the way Ohio State did their stuff.
Kind of follow up question on something entirely different, but when it comes to pace, pace and putting together a class, sometimes you get 8 at the beginning, sometimes you don't have any until July. Do you guys have a preferred way of how you want to assemble it? Is it little by little? Do you like
Yeah,
it?
I like the little by little, and I catch, one around here because everybody wants to, like right now, if we said, hey, we took everybody who wanted to commit, it'd be done. And I just seen people fail. You get stuck in, I think the coaches deserve a right to see a player play a senior year, certainly have them in camp and get to know them a little bit. There's some people that tried to commit during a championship game that we don't know, and I hope it works, but I just don't know them yet. And so I'd rather be much slower and, a couple here, a couple there, a couple here, and then always have a few left at the end.
Far left, Matt.
You always say that you don't recruit kids to redshirt. You want them to play right away. I'm just wondering, you're coming off a national title and you had a very young team. What do you envision competition like next year with this group coming in, and is it going to be more difficult for this group to maybe crack the 2 deep, given what you have coming back?
I hope so. That means you got a good team. Obviously you don't, if you got a team that's, you got a bunch of freshmen, true freshmen coming and taking, you're probably getting your tail kicked in a little bit. So I don't know. I think, there's nothing quite like having a very good player behind the guy in front of you either to make you show up and go every day. There's nothing like it. And that makes their grades better because, you screw around in the classroom, you're out. One of the great things Coach Drayton did was, I guess Zeke missed a couple classes, and the next thing Curtis Samuel scores a touchdown and starts the game. So that's the perfect world that every coach wishes they had, but that doesn't happen very often. But next year will be a very competitive group because, like you mentioned, there's a bunch of starters coming back, but there's a bunch of guys that just signed a piece of paper that are going to go try to get a spot, and they have every right. If they're better than the player, we won't really worry about what you've done in the past. The best players know we compete. We try to create competition at everything, from the classroom to the off-season workout to the summer workouts, and obviously during spring and summer.
Far right, Clay.
Yeah. Coach, everybody wants to be a great closer. A salesman, a DB, whatever. You went 5 for 5 last night. What do you attribute that to?
We missed one a couple of days earlier, though. A guy that I loved, that Porter Gusting, the tremendous kid. I think, once again, I think it was our players. Well, I don't think, I know. But Mike Weber's not at Ohio State without Zeke Elliott. Just not even, I don't think it happens. I know it doesn't happen. So I attribute it to you believe in what you're selling. It's a really good place, a lot of momentum, and our players right now are bought in. That's the cool thing. You walk out there in mat drills this morning, you see in the weight room, and the attendance, it's been great with Coach Marotti. There's a lot of momentum right now at Ohio State.
Front row, Bill.
Yeah. Could you detail the process by which you got Prince and KJ Hill? Because obviously those are the 2 guys that were not committed.
Prince was a battle. Prince committed to another school, and then a wonderful family. Father's from Trinidad. Man, just a great people. Was a fit. And then we went to see him. Felt great, home visit, and then he made a commitment. Then he came back for a visit and was blown away, and then it was a street fight until signing date. I think he's a great fit, great player that a lot of people wanted. KJ Hill was interesting. He committed early. He was on our radar a long time ago. Chris Ash knew his family. I didn't know his family at all. Kept telling us what great people they are. He's a receiver. He liked what we do, how we do things, and I think the national championship helped in that one a little bit. He saw we lost 2 upperclassmen too, and he watched very closely with how we do use the receivers, and I think that's why he jumped in more than anything else, just the actual receiver play.
I think that you're a few over the 85 limit as of now. How do you think you'll resolve that?
There's a couple injury issues that we're dealing with, and right now I think we're only at 85 or 86. I don't have that number in front of me.
Back row left, Kevin.
Coach, I wanted to ask you about 2 guys in particular, one being Rashad Berry. Some people were talking D end, some were talking tight end. He's listed as tight end. Is that a situation that, have you always looked at him as a tight end, or did the O coaches went out over the D coaches and he's tight end until further notice? And then secondly, Damon Arnett out of St. Thomas Aquinas, the school that you know very well. Joey came out of there. You probably knew it very well when you were in Florida. How important is it to just continue to have great success out of St. Thomas Aquinas?
Yeah, that's a great. We'll take one every year if they give them to us. That's a great school. But Rashad that's all Stan Drayton. Coach Drayton really does a great job in Cleveland and that whole central, northeastern part of the state, and just smothers himself in there. And he started talking about Rashad a while back. I don't know Rashad that well. but I guess he just, he's one of those typical guys that just ballooned up, and is he going? I think we put him at tight end. We'll see what happens. We didn't know quite what we were going to do with our man Sam Hubbard, because his body kept changing and all that. So I really like this kid. I like his family. Got to spend a little time with him last weekend. But Stan Drayton's like doing cartwheels for this guy because he's seen him play basketball and knows the coach, watches his kid develop, and he thinks he's one of the stars of this class.
And Arnett, just what you saw, really somebody came in.
Yeah, well, we had a decommit, and we had some injuries in the secondary a little bit. Right now there's a chance, and I'll let everybody know, there's a chance Armani Reeves might not play. So that's when I talk about the injuries because of concussions, and that's still being evaluated. And so that's a big priority, especially his size. He's tall, he's athletic, he's a strong guy. Kind of developed in the last year, and he was a must-get, especially after we had a decommit.
And last couple, front row left, Doug.
Urban, from what we know about the roster, it seems more that you're like at 90 or 91. Are there any more that you can talk about?
I think Ron Tanner, you got to give me a couple of days and I'll get with you because I've been running around this country. I don't give you false information, but I think Ron Tanner and Armani are two off the top of my head that won't be able to play anymore. Bogart can't, Trey Johnson can't.
So Bogart's definitely done?
Yeah. He's had 3 ACLs. And
How much are you aware of that with your roster management, and how much are you willing to, I know you talked about that, you're losing guys at the end of the season and you're short on bodies. How much are you willing to push it on, trying to max out, make sure you're maxed out at 85, but maybe...
I'm never really oversigned. We don't go 2 over, 3 over, and Gene and I have really never had those conversations because we just don't do that. But there's a couple guys when you're just not sure that they can continue playing. There's some guys that have 2 ACL injuries, and so you have to just be aware. So you're how aware am I of the roster? About as well as you can be. But there's also the truth that you don't know for the next couple weeks, couple months until this injury, what happens. So you have to prepare, but you also can't do the unthinkable, and that's be stuck with 87 scholarship players come June or July.
And did you see the cost of attendance issue? Is that something that came up with any kids in this class, or is that for the... Just in terms of you're going to have...
I'm embarrassed to say this. I have no idea. I've heard that for the last few years. I don't know what that means.
So it's not something that's a real discussion at this point?
No.
And the last question, Jeff.
You mentioned a couple times how much you like to be able to evaluate some of these guys into their senior years, and there's some guys like Rashad in this class, and Robert Landers out of Wayne that really had big senior years.
Devon.
Really able to kind of push and earn that scholarship. What do you think those guys add, just having that fuller picture of a guy as you were able to see him?
Well, less chance for error because you get to see him play as a senior, and less buyer's remorse because you get to watch him. And I wish that's the way it used to be. It used to, when I first started coaching, recruiting started in December of the kid's senior year, and now it starts their sophomore year. And we had to make a decision because if you remember our first couple years, we fought it, and finally we had to give in a little bit to get in the game because the days of making a guy come to camp are over. And we've accepted that. That's disappointing because I think we should have the right to do that. Darren Lee, for example, if he doesn't come to camp, he's not at Ohio State. And there's other players like that.
Coach, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.